The year was 2017. You were at your local GameStop eagerly waiting in line for the next big ticket item that you were so passionate about getting right there and then. After all, the latest hot item was well within your reach, and after hours of standing in line, waiting, and perhaps even pushing old Granny out of the way who just wanted to get something for her grandson that night, you finally got it in your hands. The very thing you were waiting for after years of rumors, leaks, and teasers being thrown in your face, and finally, at the palm of your hands was the legend, no, the myth, no, the very thing that will lock you away in your own home for the next few days, and that was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a game that was truly breathtaking and out of this world that 6 years after such an experience release, and a Game of the Year winner at that, the sequel would finally arrive and return in the very same form by the name of Tears of the Kingdom, giving you that same exact experience that you've long waited since that very moment in time. Which, after beating it and now contemplating on your life choices and mistakes, brings you to this very video right here, because after witnessing two glorious experiences back to back, well, what's next for Link, Zelda, and the rest of Hyrule after all? Also, shout out to that one asshole who pushed over my grandma that night. You absolutely deserve nothing! Anyways, dramatic backstory aside, we are indeed discussing the future of the Legend of Zelda franchise, because holy f***, how are they topping Tears of the Kingdom, which managed to top Breath of the Wild, which managed to top... Okay, now wait a minute.
You son of a bitch!
And now, after beating Tears of the Kingdom recently and losing not just 125 hours of my life, but also hours of sleep, that I'm basically a walking zombie at this point, this idea of what the future has in store for the Zelda franchise is kicked into high gear, because without spoiling much of the final portions of the game, oh my god, things were getting too crazy, Doc. So, what could be the next big thing for Zelda, you are probably asking right now? And well, I may not find a precise answer to that, but surely I can think of something, since I do have enough brain cells in this big brain of mine to at least suggest some possible idea of sorts. Yeah, just because I couldn't sleep as I was too busy saving Hyrule and figuring out ways to clap Zelda's voluptuous cheeks doesn't mean I don't have a high IQ, you guys. This is the same guy who managed to predict the Legacy Collection for Mega Man Battle Network and also Persona 5 Switch ports, so come at me, bro. Number 1, and well, let's not kid ourselves here, the future of Zelda is indeed in the open world realm, because no way in Midna's cheeks are we going back to that linear puzzle solving element that the previous 3D Zelda games had back in the day. No sir. Of course, granted that many, including myself, do want some of the older elements of the previous games to at least be implemented in the new Zelda formula, sort of what we saw with Tears of the Kingdom and its current dungeon design, but clearly I think Nintendo has other plans given what the rest of that game presented. And what it did present was a lot as is, so I can't really complain about not having good dungeon design when there's a literal freaking underground to explore and collect some cool ass goodies in the process. Yeah, look at Link all decked out in his Twilight Princess outfit, let's go! Secondly, the storylines and this so-called new timeline for Zelda is something that I guess every Zelda theory crafter is busy wrapping their brains around, thanks to the idea of the Zonai being among the next set of furry bait for Zelda fans to indulge. This also leaves a lot of open doors for returning threats and characters within this newfound continuity, assuming of course that Nintendo wants to make a third game out of this and treats this as an entire trilogy. Again, I won't be stressing much about this new timeline or everything else that I've stated or as is, because this guy is not going to be throwing hands with the Zelda community just because I was thinking certain parts of one game fits in one set of events and the other doesn't, and there's just plenty of videos out there that kind of do that alone. I just want to talk about the future of a blonde short king who wields a powerful magic sword, okay? And yeah, we can kind of thank Breath of the Wild for all of this, and somehow converging all three timelines together after setting itself apart into its own continuity now that Zoras, Ritos, Gorons, and Koroks are now living among the Hylians and Gerudos in this current era of Zelda, so surely this means that things from the past games can make a return of sorts in such grand and exceptional ways. Now, it doesn't have to be Majora and the Four Giants in Majora's Mask, or Vaati from the Minish Cap days, or even Midna from Twilight Princess, though that last one could be really cool to see, Nintendo. Hashtag bring back Midna, because my gosh, she's just such a baddie for real. Man. Moving on. But you may also be asking if perhaps the future of Zelda is truly set in stone with the great reception these games have been getting so far, and while for some these two games don't really feel like proper Zelda titles, which is a whole other debate in and of itself to be honest, I personally believe that we should expect more of the same really. I mean, with these two behemoths of Zelda games bringing endless fun and creative ways to express an absolute world and storyline within each of them, who wouldn't want more of this and expand on it further? Though this is all being said with the assumption that Nintendo would want to opt to continue with its trend of open world exploration, which they should because this is also Nintendo here and they kind of like to follow the money, but this does lead to one final possible future for the Zelda franchise, one that no one really thought of as they were too busy looking to the future without also so much looking back into the past, which is none other than making, or rather remaking, old Zelda classics. Yeah baby, remakes to me seems like the only reasonable approach for Zelda to take for a good 2 or 3 years before diving back into a mainline entry. Now for what this next possible remake could be, well, Link's Awakening on the Nintendo Switch kinda gave us an answer to that if you bother to look at that after all. Just by taking a good look at Link's Reawakening, see what I did there because it's a remake of the original game, the idea of transforming a 2D Zelda adventure with 3D graphics helped showcase a new standard for the 2D Zelda presentation. Now, it doesn't have to be all cutesy like this remake here, and it could be closer to the art style of what Link Between Worlds presented on the Nintendo 3DS, but it could just be the foundation for what a future Legend of Zelda NES remake could look like, or even a Link to the Past remake, which, oh man, that has to be something Nintendo should cook pronto. I mean, if you're doing a remake of Super Mario RPG, why not do this with Link to the Past, In any case, the remake treatment seems to be something worthwhile in the meantime, especially as we are still trying to figure out what the next Nintendo console and hardware is gonna present for the rest of the franchise, and if not, well then, you can't always port Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD ports, Nintendo, come on! I know you can do it, so don't be f***ing cowards! But at the end of the day, we can't really determine what is certain for the future of Zelda now that we've had Tears of the Kingdom for a good 2 months or so, but it does help us understand the mentality that Zelda is now at a point where it's larger than life, and that's pretty freaking exciting to some people. Now, with this mentality also, this does mean that for a lot of Zelda fans out there, this is a turning point for the franchise, and whatever that turning point ends up being, let's just hope it ends up being in our favor, because after all, the Zelda franchise is Nintendo's precious baby, and I don't recall any Zelda game being a bad experience in the end. And I will definitely bask on this take for quite some time now, like that's a fact, but having this small discussion on the future of Zelda does have me excited to try out the older games again, since it has been a long ass time since I've indulged on those, but that's gonna be for next time really, because right now I'm gonna fight every single Lino and Gleeok that's out there, find every Korok while torturing them in the process, build insane mechanisms that makes Ganondorf wish he had the Triforce of Courage, and last but certainly not least, build a home for Link, because apparently you can do that in this game now. Didn't know Link was into Animal Crossing, but honestly, after meeting a villager and a yellow talking dog in Smash Ultimate, the possibilities are endless at this point.